Am I the jerk? Left wallet in best friend's car. She's mad because I had my cards canceled. So I left my wallet in my best friend's car over the weekend. Every time we set a time to meet, she cancels, changes the time, or has an excuse as to why she can't meet for me to get my wallet. I offered to go to her house, but she's never home. So I told her I'm just going to have my debit card and the other cards I have in my car wallet canceled and or reported as stolen. She flipped her crap and told me I'm a jerk for doing that, and it shows that how bad of a friend I am for not trusting her, and I'm bullying her by treating her like a thief and criminal. Edit. Hey all, I wasn't expecting such an overwhelming response. The wallet has been returned. It was left with the security guard at the entrance gate where I live. But thank you to everyone who took time to respond and give advice and their opinions on the situation. It was greatly appreciated. In regards to the cards and as to why I canceled them, it was because with my bank, you get same-day replacements. The friendship has been ended. It was a mutual agreement. I should have been more mindful of her red flags, and I should have taken into account that she was never really a friend and was more so just using me. Yeah, this one's pretty easy. There's just no way this could be the jerk. Like, at all. So, yeah, not the jerk. Am I the jerk for leaving dinner to get my son McDonald's even though food was served? A friend of my wife's invited my family, my wife, 29F, and our son, 5M, and I, 26M, over for dinner with him, 30M, and his daughter, 5F. As long as we've known him, this friend has kept to a very strict diet, which has almost always led to us eating over at his place, but he's an excellent cook, so I never minded. We have not, however, seen him since both of our childs were infants. For dinner, we were served salmon with quinoa and arugula. My son is very mild for a 5-year-old. He throws tantrums very rarely and is the opposite of a picky eater. But I could tell from the way he was acting that he was not vibing with this meal. He was picking at his plate, shuffling food, and while he did try the salmon, he didn't seem to like it. I asked him if he was happy with his dinner, and he said no, he wasn't. I basically said, haha, kids, right? And asked if there was anything else for my son to eat. My wife's friend said that his daughter just eats whatever he makes, so he doesn't keep kid food around the house. My wife said it was fine, our son would be okay. While he was a mild kid, he definitely gets hangry, and this was the beginning of our night, so we anticipated being there for an additional hour or two. I said that our son needed to eat so he'd have energy to play and apologized, saying I'd be gone for just a few minutes, picking something up for our kid. My wife's friend seemed irked, but said he'd try and keep my plate warm. I was gone for about half an hour, came back with a Happy Meal, ordered extra fries in case his daughter wanted any, which she was not allowed to have. By the time I was back, dinner was winding down. My son ate his meal, we had dessert, and he went off to play with his friend. It was definitely a hiccup in the night, but things went fine. We had a good time, but my wife was definitely cold with me. When we got home, 3 hours after the dinner, she told me that I was a jerk at dinner for no reason. I pointed out that if I hadn't gotten our son dinner, he would have been a monster the entire way home, to which she replied that we would have left earlier. I said I was just looking to solve the problem as it happened, and that if her friend had been more accommodating, we wouldn't have been in that situation in the first place. She got offended on his behalf, and we decided to just go to bed because we clearly were not getting anywhere. It's been 2 days since. Things are stilted between us, and I'm not sure where I went wrong. Am I the jerk for leaving dinner to get my son food even though dinner was served? Getting your son the extra food is definitely something that could have been done after dinner. Like, I totally get that some people, and it kind of seems like the people they were having dinner with, just like having dinner together at a table, and people getting up and leaving can be seen as disrespectful. And then with that, coupled on top of the fact that they didn't, like, the son didn't eat the cooking of the dude, whoever cooked it. Basically, what I'm saying through all this rambling is that I can understand why someone would feel disrespected if one of, like, their house guests went up and left to go to McDonald's to get food for their kid. Like, yeah, your son's not gonna like everything that a, I guess technically stranger to them gives them. And it definitely sounds like some interesting food for a kid. But getting up and leaving in the middle of dinner, it seems like a bit much. It does seem like a jerk move. So I'm gonna say, yeah, OP's the jerk a little bit, just a little bit. Am I the jerk for not catering to my roommate's vegan diet? So me and my roommate have been living together for about a year and we haven't had any problems. We're friends, so we're fine sharing a few things in the apartment, but one thing we rarely share is food. Unless we order a pizza or something, what's mine is mine and what's his is his. No exception. So no eating someone else's food, and don't touch their side of the fridge. We basically split the fridge down the middle with little dividers. I get the left and he gets the right. Well, recently he went vegan. I thought nothing would change since we don't share food. However, recently he asked me to stop putting raw meats in the bottom crisper, the little drawer thing in the fridge, because the juices could leak onto the other side and get onto his vegetables and such he puts down there. Well, in the past he's put stuff other than meat in his side of the crisper, so I asked if it wasn't a problem then, why is it now? He said it was because he basically only puts vegetables down there and doesn't want them contaminated. I'm not usually so stubborn, but that's the best place to put the meat to keep it fresh, so I told him it'll be fine if he just leaves it, but if he really wants to, he can just move his stuff elsewhere. He said there was no room, but I basically said that it's his side of the fridge and that's his problem. That wasn't the end of it, though. Yesterday, I saw him touching my side of the fridge. I didn't want to be childish, so I shrugged it off and didn't mention it. However, I saw that he'd moved my raw meat and put it right on top of some yogurt I had bought. Not just that, but it was very precariously perched on there. It nearly fell when I opened the fridge. I was kinda mad, because what if the juices did leak? They'd go right onto or into the yogurt and get me sick. He was complaining about that, so in my mind it's a bit hypocritical. Also, the meat would be less fresh. It could have fell, and he's messing with my stuff even though we agreed not to do that to each other. I confronted him about it, but he said I'm being childish and said that he's going to continue to move my stuff as to not mess his up. I just put my stuff back where I had it and told him not to mess with it. Am I the jerk? I am a little confused. Assuming that the crisper is connected in some way such that the juices could actually get onto what's next to it, that just doesn't seem very sanitary or safe in general, right? Like, the roommate, vegan aside, raised a genuine issue. The way they went about it, dealing with it afterwards, that is a little weird. I think the compromise that could have been made is OP sacrificing some of their, shelf space up top in exchange for, both crisper slots. That seems like it would completely solve the issue. There's probably a whole thing of, the vegetables won't be as fresh because they're not in the crisper. Look, I'm not a fridge expert, I gotta be honest with you. But in my mind, what I said seems like a reasonable solution. So maybe that's just something they have to look into. As it stands, OP is, not really the jerk. Except for the fact that it seems kind of stubborn, the way that they're but the juices leaking wasn't a problem before, why is it now? People can realize something is a problem after doing it for a while and be like, oh, well, that wasn't great. Maybe the whole, switch to veganism just, opened his eyes to that potential issue. I don't know. It doesn't sound like a veganism issue at all. I don't know why that was mentioned. Am I the jerk for leaving my sister's wedding early because she kept my husband out of pictures? My 31M sister Anne, 34F, got married on Saturday. My husband of 7 years, Mark, 32, was there with me, and up until one point, it was an amazing evening. After the ceremony, Anne wanted a picture with all of our siblings. There's 5 of us and their respective partners, so we started lining up. When Anne saw that my husband was standing next to me, she shook her head and said something about him ruining the aesthetic. Apparently, her plan was to put one man and one woman next to each other alternately. My youngest sister, 18, who doesn't have a partner and who was standing on the very side, offered to stand between the two of us so we could be close and Anne's wishes could still be respected. I thought it was a great solution, but Anne disagreed and told Mark to get out of the picture. He's quite introverted and tries to avoid confrontation under all circumstances, so he simply complied and told me to not get angry. But it was obvious that he was hurt and disappointed by being left out. Obviously, it didn't stop me from getting angry, and I walked away with him. I can understand that Anne wants her wedding pictures to look exactly how she imagined them, but I also think that the solution my younger sister proposed was very reasonable. I congratulated Anne and her husband one last time, but then I said my goodbyes. When I was asked why we were leaving early, especially before taking pictures, I said that I didn't feel like our presence was wanted. We left before dinner was served, and I took Mark out to his favorite restaurant to cheer him up a bit. Anne has texted me since saying that I was being overdramatic and making a fuss over nothing. Our parents have tried to remain neutral, but except for my younger sister, the rest of the family supports Anne and thinks that leaving early was going too far and that I should have sucked it up instead of ruining her big day. I'm not gonna lie, I was a little slow in the uptake here. I didn't realize that it was a whole, practically homophobic thing until, halfway through. I guess I really gotta pay more attention to those, 30M things at the beginning. But anyway, that aside, ruining the aesthetic is, I don't know, I guess I kind of get it. You have ideas of what your photos want, you want your photos to look like, but then, something, it's 2 men, oh no. Younger sister had a very diplomatic response to the situation. The rest of the family being complacent about essentially, your husband being excluded pretty much exclusively because you're gay, that's bad. I definitely don't see any way that OP could be considered the jerk here. It was super disrespectful in the first place, and then with the solution proposed still not letting them be in the photo together, that's awful. Am I the jerk for asking someone how much their yacht costs? Gonna try to keep this brief as it honestly doesn't bother me that much, posting out of curiosity. Last weekend, Father's Day, took my dad to the Hamptons, hung around a marina. As a first-generation immigrant, he was in awe at the awesome-looking yachts. This man came to the US with nothing and worked his way up. Out of curiosity, he asks me, "How much do you think these cost?" I jokingly say, "A lot," and he badgers me for a specific number. I decided to wave my hands and ask one of the crew members how much the boat costs. She was very nice, laughed, and put 2 fingers in the air. 2 million. My dad thought that was pretty sick. So, just out of fun, I decided to ask how much the yacht next to hers cost. It was considerably bigger in size. Now, a crew member from the other bigger yacht poked her head out and says to me, "Excuse me, this is a private marina. Please respect the rules." Basically shaming me. It gets kinda quiet now. To break through the awkwardness, I yell back, "It's not like I asked to drive the thing." Yeah, that's about it. Is there something I'm missing here? I know that it's not polite to ask someone what their net worth is, but I mean, it's a frickin' boat. Who gives a crap? She wasn't even the owner. Why'd she give me such a hard time? Am I the jerk for asking how much the yacht was? Do I just avoid asking people how much they spend on something from now on? Jesus, I feel like Larry David. The crew member referenced, please respect the rules. Now, we weren't told what the rules were. If one of the rules is don't ask how much the boats are, then yeah, please respect the rules. On the other hand, OP and his dad had no clue of the rules, so I guess it doesn't really matter. It's just like a whoops if they did break them, and if they didn't, then it's a whatever. This seems like a super non-issue, just a little bit of a weird, awkward interaction that didn't end, terribly, but it didn't end the best. So, not the jerk, but also, I don't think anyone was the jerk here. Am I the jerk for making my neighbor's kid depressed? So, about a month ago, I got a new kitten. There's this neighbor kid, 3 to 4 years old, who also wanted to have a kitten for her birthday, but her parents didn't want to take care of one, so they didn't get her one. I happened to randomly get my new kitten at the exact same time. I let her play with my kitten a few times, but it has got to a point where the kid is literally pestering me by ringing my doorbell and asking me each time I leave/enter the house if she could play with my cat. Now, whenever I open my door, the kid is there at the door staring at me. The kid still doesn't go to school, so she's always there waiting for me to get home. A couple of days ago, I was really tired from a hectic day. The kid came to me again demanding she wants to see the cat, and I let her play with it for a while. I have observed her mishandling the cat, and the cat also hates her. After a while, she was taken home by her mother. Later, I had ordered some food and opened my door to collect it, and there the damn kid was again asking if she could play with the cat. I got really vexed at this point and lied to her that I have decided to give the cat away to a friend. Now the kid is sad and depressed and has stopped eating, and that is making me feel guilty. She demands I bring the cat back. I just want to have some peaceful time after work, and this kid has lately become a problem. Am I the jerk here? Kids are often not the best with pets. It's just true. Especially ones that they haven't known since birth, so they don't really know how to interact with them properly. This can very easily lead to an animal hating a kid, and the kid mistreating the animal, which seems to be happening here since that's exactly what OP said. On that case alone, it is not the jerk move to not let the kid interact with the cat, especially since it seems like the parents weren't around for this, which is weird. This 3 or 4-year-old is just roaming around, knocking on the door and being like, "Can I play with the cat?" That seems a little strange to me. I don't know. Maybe it's a very trusting community. Either way, OP is not the jerk at all. The kid not eating or whatever from not being able to see the cat, they're 3 or 4, they'll get over it. It wasn't even their cat. Rough for the kid, but also, it's not OP's burden to bear. Am I the jerk for calling my aunt uneducated? I, 26F, have an aunt, 50s, who puts very little importance on education. She barely graduated high school and instilled these views in her son as well. My parents had raised me to view education as the best tool you can have in life, and I wholeheartedly agree. I graduated high school with honors and am now in university for biochem. Currently, I am living with my mom and working to save money for tuition. I'm working at the local seafood processing plant where my aunt also works. This job is nearly killing me. I work from 6 p.m. to 5 a.m. and it is hard physical labor. I'll be the first to admit I'm not built for hard labor, and I also have some health issues that make it even harder. But the money is good, so I stick with it. The other night during our break, I had a lot of back pain, so I took a muscle relaxer. It was hard to move my left arm, and my aunt didn't like that. She is normally very cranky and bossy, so I wasn't surprised when she went on a rant about how I will have to suck it up because this will be my life from now on. Slaving in a factory because office jobs hardly exist. Normally, I'd just ignore her, but I was so on edge that I snapped and said something along the lines of, "I will never have to get used to hard labor because I'm not as uneducated as you, so I have better options. This job doesn't require any sort of schooling, and you don't even have to pass in a resume to apply." My comment shut her up for the night, but the next day she called my mom about it, and my mom said I need to hold my tongue better because my aunt is just like that. But I don't think my aunt should just get a free pass at being a jerk. I'm a strong believer that all labor is skilled labor in some way. Sure, some aren't book smart, and some you don't even have to go to a trade school for, but it's still labor that is it's not easy. You have to train your body to do it, and it's work that needs to get done as well. Claiming that any job is lesser than another is just, it's just mean-spirited to me. Sure, there's some you need to train for longer for because, like, failure has larger consequences, like a doctor per se. But at the end of the day, someone who processes seafood does an important job as well. Sure, they're not out there saving lives, but if no one did that job and no one could do that job, that would be a huge blow to the, I don't know what to call it, but the not quite the economy, but just like the access to fish. You know, I'm not being very eloquent about this. Basically, to put it in simpler terms, OP's comment was out of pocket. I think OP's kind of the jerk here. Am I the jerk for not transferring the social pension I'm receiving from the state to my mother? I, 18F, have been receiving social pension from the state since my father passed away in 2017. At first, it was my mother, 54F, who received the money on her account. But as soon as I turned 18 in 2022, the money started going to my account. My mother immediately told me to sign a document that would allow her to keep receiving the money on her own account, and when I refused, she yelled at me. And she generally just tried to guilt trip me into caving in. So I felt like I had no choice. Fortunately, my country's law didn't allow it, so I kept receiving the money. Then she told me to transfer the money to her, so I did, but she only allowed me to keep a ridiculously small part of it. The social pension is around $614 USD. She only let me keep $25-ish, and her final offer was $50. I just want to be independent with my own money, save for college, my future, etc. Yet she claims that I will just waste it on treats. Yesterday, I had had enough. At first, I asked her to let me leave 75 USD for myself. She said no. So, I didn't send her anything. She called me cruel and greedy and told me that she is ashamed of my behavior and that I should be ashamed too. She then told me that this money helped her survive when we were poor a few years ago. Saying that was most likely another attempt to guilt trip me, as nowadays she and my stepfather are prosperous. They buy new cars frequently, buy expensive dinners for themselves from time to time, and could afford extensive renovations on our house purely to make it more aesthetically pleasing. She also claimed that she has to pay bills and my expenses with that money. When I said that I could chip in and pay for whatever bills I generate, she of course refused. After shouting at me yesterday, she has been giving me the silent treatment. I don't know what to do anymore. Am I the jerk? The law dictates that the money is yours, therefore the money is yours. I really think it's that simple. It's really weird that the mother would call OP greedy here. The mother's being quite greedy herself, although I guess it's not weird knowing how some parents are. I get wanting to limit your child's spending, but this child is 18. At some point, they gotta learn about financial independence, the easy way or the hard way. The hard way being just giving it all to them, and if they squander it, they squander it. It's really hard to tell if the mother is just being protective or, like, wants the money for herself. It's probably a bit of both, but my money, get it, is more on her being greedy. So, yeah. OP's not the jerk. Would I be the jerk if I didn't go to my brother's wedding? My 32F brother, 28M, just proposed to his girlfriend, 22F, of 6 months. They set the date of the wedding as the date they met, which is December 13th. It will be 5 to 6 that night. I have 2 problems with this. Number 1, I live 3 hours away and am a teacher. I get 1 personal day a year. Not only is their wedding smack in the middle of finals for my district, it would require me to use all of my personal PTO to attend due to the travel time involved. I would have to split it between the 13th and the 14th. My family is demanding that I come, but I don't think it's fair to demand that I give up my one thing for my brother, and I'll tell you why. My boyfriend of 3 years bought a house when we met. He changed factory jobs last year to one with a more supportive work environment with more opportunities for advancement. However, his company is currently experiencing an unexpected slow season due to the economy, and there's not enough work for everyone at the moment. He barely makes enough to cover expenses, and this has been the case for a few months now. I'm moving in with him over the summer to help with bills going forward and have been giving him whatever money I can spare. I was hopeful for an engagement ring and/or wedding for next year, but some other financial setbacks associated with home ownership, new gutters, having to replace appliances that don't work, etc., have almost completely diminished those hopes. Now to my brother. My brother has, in the 3 weeks since proposing, been repeatedly rude to me about his engagement. He makes remarks about me being a spinster, how he could get someone to marry him in 6 months when I can't get someone to commit in 3 years, and this makes him a superior person. And also how I am too mentally ill to be a good spouse. I have ADHD and depression. I'm not successful like my brother is, so why would anyone marry me, and stuff like that. Meanwhile, he and our parents are telling me that I have obligations for their wedding. I was a florist for a few years, so I needed to make the centerpieces and the bouquets free of charge. I run a small business making custom jewelry for 15 years, so I have to make the jewelry for the bridal party. I have to be our elderly grandfather's chauffeur. I'm expected to come early and set up. I'm expected to stay late and clean up. I'm expected to be a server and do dishes during the reception. I think I am well within my rights to demand some things change given my brother's attitude. namely the bullying regarding my marital status, or lack thereof, and the demands they're placing on me when they purposefully picked a day that few people could attend. I think they are demanding too much of me when they simply expect me to do things and won't even ask if I can make it all work. Since it's finals, I might not even be able to take it off in the first place. So, I think I know the answer, but I could use some insight. Would I be the jerk if I didn't attend my brother's wedding? Weddings in my mind have this huge problem. They're all built up as someone's special day. And when someone's special day comes along, they want everyone to drop whatever they're doing and come to their special thing. And they see that as a right because it is their special day. You're expected to only have one traditionally, etc., etc. This creates huge problems in so many cases of people just can't get the time off or they can't travel on the date that the couple has picked. Especially December 13th. Sure, for the teacher, it's the middle of exam season or whatever, but think about that in general. How close is that to Christmas? How much travel is going to be going on? I am terrified just thinking of it. Either way, they're allowed to have their wedding on whatever day they want, but they can't expect everyone to be able to make it. The extra things that the family is asking the OP of it's just insane. There's so much stuff that they want OP to do for free, which you would absolutely typically charge for. The family sounds entirely cheap and entirely entitled. OP is not the jerk whatsoever, or would not be the jerk if they didn't attend. And quite frankly, knowing everything that they told us, I kinda hope they don't attend.